Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Season 2, Episode 24, Saved by Slayer. After leaving the school, Jeff ran in the direction in which he'd seen the two criminals escaping on the CCTV. Using his intuition to decide which way to go, he ran for more than a kilometer. At a narrow intersection, he paused as he suddenly heard faint curses and moans. His gaze focused as he ran toward the noises. He saw two men standing beside a van.
It's them.
Ariel whispered. She had followed Jeff, and she recognized the two men from the CCTV film. They were the ones who had taken Haley. Both men had pained expressions on their faces. One was holding himself around the waist, and the other was rubbing his head. It looked as if they had both just been beaten up. Jeff didn't hesitate as he rushed toward them. He screamed,
You bastards! I'm going to kill you.
When the men saw Jeff charging toward them, clearly wanting to fight with them, their first instinct was to feel insulted but amused. He was clearly very young and no match for them.
What's this?
One of them asked his buddy.
What the hell?
Said the other. Before they could get into position, Jeff had hurled up and kicked one of them. The man fell instantly to the ground. He also knocked the other man to the ground, then propped his knees against his neck and said angrily,
Where's the little girl?
Ariel had already searched the van, but there is no sign of her.
What are you talking about? We don't know anything about a little girl.
The man didn't know that Jeff had already seen the surveillance cameras. He thought he could bluff his way out of it.
You bastard!
Jeff smashed his fist into the man's nose. The man felt a burst of pain as tears, snot and blood all flowed down his face.
Tell me right now.
Jeff demanded.
Okay, I'll tell you.
The man was too scared to lie anymore.
We were taking her to the car, but someone jumped out on us and knocked us down. By the time we could react, he and the girl were already gone.
Ariel and Jeff's heart sank when they heard that Ariel had been snatched away by someone else.
You must know who it was. Speak.
Jeff slapped the man.
I beg you, please stop hitting me. We really don't know who he was. He was so fast, we didn't even see him clearly.
The man said tearfully. Jeff was furious, and he punched the men hard in the guts. He held his stomachs, feeling as if his internal organs had been crushed. At that moment, two police cars arrived. Jeff handed the two men over to the officers, who took them to the police station in one car, leaving the other car behind with two other officers. The remaining police officers contacted the traffic department, who told them that on the footage from surveillance cameras, they'd been able to spot the suspect taking Haley to a nearby park. Jeff, Ariel, and the two police officers went immediately to the park to find them. They had searched fruitlessly for half an hour, when suddenly they heard a shout coming from some nearby woods.
Mom, I'm hit.
The voice called, then stopped, as if someone had covered the person's mouth. Jeff and Ariel both recognized Haley's voice. Ariel faced the direction of the voice and shouted in panic.
Haley?
Jeff and the police officers turned around and saw small cups of trees in front of them. Jeff signaled to Ariel to keep quiet. He exchanged glances with the two officers. The three of them moved Ariel behind them and cautiously approached the group of trees. They could hear whispered voices, and he knew that the suspect and Haley were nearby. Suddenly a bush in front of them moved and a man in a white mask rushed out. It was Slayer, the masked man, whom Jeff had injured at the bar a few days previously. Slayer faced Jeff and pushed Haley in front of him.
Haley?
Ariel cried out when she saw her daughter. She tried to rush over to her, but she was stopped by Jeff. He looked fearfully at Slayer. He had already witnessed the brutality that this man was capable of, and he knew that this was a very precarious situation. The two police officers pointed their guns at Slayer. One of them said,
Let go the little girl right now.
Slayer started to say something, but the police had already opened fire. The man was wearing a mask and holding Haley in front of him. In the eyes of the officers, there was no doubt that he was a very dangerous person.
Bam!
Slayer was hit by a bullet and he fell to the ground. Haley fell with him. Ariel rushed to her and pulled her into her arms, while Jeff rushed to Slayer and kneeled on his back to hold him down.
Haley?
She cried, but Haley's gaze never left Slayer. She was struggling in her mother's arms to get back to him.
Haley, what's wrong with you? He's a very dangerous man who tried to take you.
Ariel said to her. In tears, Haley replied,
No, Slayer isn't a bad guy. He's my friend and Jeff is hurting him. Mom, let go of me. I want to see him.
Everyone was stunned by her words. They looked at Slayer, who was still being held on the ground by Jeff.
Speak now. Why did you kidnap Haley?
Jeff asked him angrily.
I didn't. I saved her.
He replied.
You're still lying.
Jeff's fist landed on the back of Slayer's head. Jeff's methods were too aggressive, so the two police officers stopped him. It was their responsibility to interrogate the suspect. However, Slayer continued to insist that he was the one who saved Haley. At that moment, one of the officers' phones rang. After a short conversation, he ended the call and released Slayer. He explained,
The surveillance camera showed that it all happened exactly as he said. This man defeated the two kidnappers and brought Haley here. He had no intention of harming her. And when he heard us shouting, he hid with her to protect her.
Hearing what the officer said and watching how Haley reacted to Slayer, Jeff and Ariel knew that they had been wrong about him. Ariel let go of Haley's hand and she looked at him. She said,
Slayer, are you okay? Are you hurt?
He replied calmly.
Don't worry. The police only shot me with rubber bullets. It didn't hurt at all.
Haley's face lit up.
Banana bullets?
She asked. She walked up to the two police officers and asked one of them,
Mr. Policeman, can I look at your banana bullets? I want to try one and see if it tastes good.
Only then did the two officers realize that Haley had some type of learning disability. They smiled and chatted with her for a while before leaving. They asked Jeff and Ariel to go to the police station later that day to give their statements. Seeing that Haley seemed very happy with Slayer, Jeff was confused. He wondered,
What kind of person is this Slayer, and why does he always wear a mask?
as if reading Jeff's mind. Out of the blue, Haley innocently asked Slayer,
Slayer, can you take off your mask so I can see your face?
No, my appearance will frighten you.
He replied. He was caught off guard by her question and took a step back.
It won't, I promise. Please let me see. I'm begging you.
Haley said pleadingly as she held Slayer's hand with both of hers.
All right.
Slayer finally agreed. Haley smiled happily. She was excited about seeing Slayer without his mask. Jeff and Ariel were also watching curiously. They wanted to know more about this man. Slayer slowly took off his mask and revealed his face.
Ah, a ghost!
Haley screamed out in fear and ran to hide behind Ariel, who grabbed Jeff's arm tightly. Jeff's eyes narrowed. He was also shocked by what he saw. There were white spots on Slayer's face and a large purple birthmark over his left eye. These two colors made his face look terrifying and ugly.
I scared you.
He said sadly when he saw their reactions. He looked for Haley as he grabbed the mask and put it back on his face.
You followed me from Peston University, right?
Jeff asked him. He remembered feeling that someone was following him and concluded that it must have been Slayer.
Yes.
Slayer nodded sadly. He was aware that ever since Haley had seen his face, she had been hiding behind Ariel.
Why? Are you planning to take revenge on me?
Jeff asked frankly. Slayer shook his head slowly.
Although you hurt me the last time we met, I don't blame you. Actually, I've been looking for you.
He replied.
Why?
Slayer was quiet for a moment. Although he couldn't see his face, Jeff was sure that his lips were trembling. He stuttered.
Because.
His voice was shaky.
It's okay. Just tell me what's on your mind. Say it, and I'm sure you'll feel better.
Jeff said as he patted Slayer on the shoulder. He could tell that he had something he needed to get off his chest.
Because my face is disfigured right from when I was young. Other kids have always laughed at me. In my town, I was a joke, because I wanted to have friends. But no one wanted to play with me. In the end, I was sent to be raised in a monastery, but I was even bullied and mocked there. When I was old enough, I left the monastery to make my own way in life. I tried to get a job, but no one wanted to employ me, and I gave up all hope. I was ready to jump into the river and commit suicide.
Did Jasper save you?
Jeff had guessed that this may be the reason that Slayer was working for him. He nodded and continued with his story.
He told me that he could stop people from mocking me. He gave me this mask and told me that if I wear it, I'll be an ordinary person like everyone else, and that I'll be able to live a normal life.
Do you think he was lying to you?
Jeff asked worriedly as he looked at Slayer's weird clothes.
At least he stopped me from being mocked by others. I'm much better off now than I was before. I'm satisfied with my life.
Slayer looked at Jeff and said,
When we met in the bar, and I walked toward you with a dagger in my hand, you looked at me as an equal without any discrimination. I'd never experienced that kind of look before in my life. It felt so good that even though you cut me, I wanted to meet you again. I don't hate you at all.
Jeff was surprised. He hadn't predicted for a minute that he had unknowingly saved himself that day by looking at this man as an equal. Jeff said sadly,
I understand that there are a lot of superficial people around. But you shouldn't be so afraid. If you get back out in society, you'll find that there are plenty of people who don't judge others by their looks.
He continued,
I must say, it's very dangerous for you to help Jasper do these horrible things. Do you really think that he's trying to help you? Or is he just using you for his own gain? Do you think that he even views you as a human being?
He feeds me and pays me $800 a month. He respects me for my skills and even calls me Slayer. What makes you think that he isn't trying to help me?
Slayer asks Jeff in confusion.
Have you seen the ridiculous clothes that he gave you to wear? And have you forgotten that you helped him at the bar and he thanked you by hitting you on the head?
Jeff looked into Slayer's eyes and said,
Wake up, buddy. He's brainwashed you. He treats you like his dog.
No, that's not true.
Slayer said in bewilderment.
He's my savior. I'm not his dog. I'm not.
Slayer covered his head with his hands.